Have you ever wondered why some people earn respect without even asking for it? Why their calm in chaos, their strength in silence, seems to draw admiration effortlessly? It's not luck, it's resilience. It's the power to keep moving when life hits hard. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe for more insights on mastering your mindset and becoming the best version of yourself. Now, let's talk about how true respect is forged, not through comfort, but through struggle. 1. The mirror of adversity. Adversity doesn't just test you, it reveals you. In times of comfort, when everything flows smoothly and the world smiles upon you, it's easy to appear strong, patient, and wise. Anyone can speak noble words when life cooperates. But when the storms arrive, when you lose what you thought you couldn't live without, when your plans crumble into dust, that is when your true reflection emerges. The Stoics understood this better than most. They believed adversity wasn't a curse, but a lens, a mirror held up by fate to expose what lies beneath the surface. As Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests brave men." It's in those trials that we meet the unfiltered version of ourselves, stripped of titles, wealth, and comfort, left with only our inner resources. When life strips away your excuses, distractions, and illusions of control, you face the question that defines every human being. Who are you when there's nothing left to hide behind? Stoicism teaches that adversity removes the mask of convenience. When hardship visits, it doesn't create weakness, it merely reveals it. Likewise, it doesn't manufacture strength, it exposes the strength that was already within you. This is why Stoics like Epictetus, who was born a slave, and Marcus Aurelius, who ruled as emperor, both found meaning in their suffering. Though their lives were vastly different, their responses to hardship shared the same essence: calm, acceptance, and perseverance. They understood that the measure of a person is not how they behave when the crowd applauds, but how they carry themselves when the world turns its back. Hardship is the ultimate mirror because it reveals our priorities and values with ruthless clarity. When we lose status or comfort, we discover whether we valued virtue or vanity. When we face pain, we find out whether we truly believe that character is more important than pleasure. Adversity strips away everything external, money, praise, luxury, and forces us to rely on what cannot be taken: integrity, courage, self-discipline. It is in this crucible that respect is earned, not demanded. The Stoics never sought pity for their struggles, they sought mastery over themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not your enemy, it is your teacher. If you can stand tall when fate strikes, you've already achieved something that most never do. You've proven that your peace of mind doesn't depend on circumstance. Respect, in the Stoic sense, is not about fame or recognition. It's about internal sovereignty. To endure with dignity, to hold your principles when life tempts you to abandon them, is the foundation of true strength. The mirror of adversity doesn't lie. It shows you the distance between who you are and who you aspire to be. And when you learn to look into that mirror without fear, when you can see yourself clearly and still stand firm, you've not only faced hardship, you've transcended it. 2. The core principle: respect those who don't quit. People may admire talent, but they respect endurance. The world often confuses brilliance with greatness, but the Stoics drew a sharp line between the two. Talent dazzles for a moment, endurance defines a lifetime. It's easy to begin with enthusiasm when success seems close, but when the path grows dark, when progress slows and recognition fades, that is where most give up. The few who keep going, who persist through failure, loneliness, and uncertainty, become the ones the rest of us quietly respect. The Stoic mind understands that endurance is not glamorous, but it is sacred. It's the steady, unyielding refusal to surrender one's principles or purpose, even when the world offers every reason to stop. Anyone can start strong. Few can stay strong when the finish line disappears into the fog. Stoicism teaches that the true measure of strength is not found in the sprint, but in the marathon of character. Epictetus reminded his students that persistence in the face of difficulty is the mark of freedom. No great thing is created suddenly. To be unyielding is not to be stubborn, it's to be faithful to what matters most. When life becomes uncertain and the outcome is hidden, the Stoic remain centered, not because they expect reward, but because they refuse to let circumstance dictate their will. Endurance, then, is a moral choice, a declaration that virtue will not depend on fortune. Resilience commands respect because it is rare. The modern world celebrates instant success, yet the Stoic ideal honors quiet perseverance. When you continue your work with discipline after failure, when you rebuild what has been destroyed, when you choose integrity over ease, you become living proof of what Marcus Aurelius called the art of living. Every fall and every failure become another brick in the wall of your legacy. Respect does not come from applause, it comes from endurance, because endurance speaks to the soul of everyone who has struggled and refused to quit. It's not about being unbreakable, it's about being unyielding. The Stoic warrior knows that pain, loss, and disappointment are inevitable companions on the road to greatness. But while others collapse under the weight of frustration, the Stoic bends and rises again. To endure is to assert control over the one thing you truly own, your mind. When you fall, you learn humility. When you rise again, you gain wisdom. Over time, your scars become symbols of growth, and your persistence becomes your philosophy. That's why people respect those who don't quit. They remind us that the human spirit, when trained by hardship and guided by principle, is unconquerable. 3. The Stoic Way to endure. How do you build that kind of strength, the quiet, enduring resilience that commands respect? The Stoics didn't rely on luck or motivation. They cultivated endurance through daily discipline. They saw life as a gymnasium for the soul, where each challenge was an exercise to strengthen virtue. To live as a Stoic is to train the mind to remain steady no matter what fortune brings. This strength is not inherited. It is forged moment by moment through deliberate practice and conscious reflection. The Stoic path to endurance can be summarized in 3 timeless habits: persevere, adapt, and rise again. Persevere, keep showing up, even when no one's watching. The Stoics warned against depending on recognition for motivation. True perseverance is private, invisible, and often unrewarded. It's the quiet repetition of effort when enthusiasm fades. Marcus Aurelius wrote each morning to prepare his mind for the hardships of the day, reminding himself that others might be selfish, cruel, or ignorant, but that he could still choose virtue. Perseverance means continuing to act with excellence, not because success is guaranteed, but because you've made a commitment to yourself. It's the inner vow that says, "I will not retreat, even if I must crawl." Adapt. Don't resist change. Reshape yourself to meet it. Stoicism teaches that suffering often comes not from events, but from our refusal to accept them. Epictetus advised, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." Adaptation is not surrender, it's mastery. When fate alters your path, a Stoic doesn't lament, they adjust their stride. By remaining flexible in strategy but firm in principle, they transform obstacles into opportunities. To adapt is to say, the storm may change my direction, but it will not alter my purpose. Rise again. Every setback is a rehearsal for your next success. The Stoics viewed failure not as shameful, but as instructive. Each fall reveals where the ego still clings, where the mind remains untrained. When you stumble, the Stoic response is reflection, not regret. What can I learn? How can I improve? Every time you rise from adversity, you become stronger, more disciplined, more unshakable. Like tempered steel, your spirit is hardened by each trial. The Stoic understands that resilience is not the absence of pain, it is the art of transforming pain into progress. Resilience, then, is not about ignoring pain, it's about mastering your response to it. Pain becomes the raw material from which wisdom is forged. You learn that emotions, though powerful, are not tyrants. They are messengers. To endure the Stoic way is to remain calm in chaos, patient in difficulty, and humble in victory. It is to remember always that external events cannot touch the fortress of a disciplined mind. When you persevere, adapt, and rise again, you embody the Stoic truth that the only true power lies in self-mastery. And from that mastery flows an unbreakable peace, the kind that no storm can destroy. 4. Real-life example: the comeback of a champion. Think of the athlete who tore a ligament, was told their career was over, yet refused to quit. The doctors shook their heads, the media called it a tragedy, and the fans moved on to newer names. But in that quiet hospital room, while the world wrote the final chapter of their story, they were already planning a rewrite. The pain was unbearable, yes, but what hurt more was the thought of leaving their purpose unfinished. When everyone else saw an ending, they saw a challenge. When the body said no, the mind whispered, "We'll find a way." Rehabilitation was not glamorous. There were no cameras, no crowds, only ice packs, sweat, and silence. Each day began not with cheers, but with the slow and torturous process of relearning what once came naturally: to move, to balance, to trust one's own body again. Progress was measured not in trophies, but in millimeters, the bend of a knee that hadn't bent in weeks, the first unassisted step after months of pain. It was humbling, frustrating, and lonely. Yet this is where champions are truly forged, in obscurity, not in the spotlight. The Stoics would have understood this struggle well. Epictetus, once a slave whose body was broken by his master, taught that no external event can destroy one's spirit unless one allows it. The athlete's story is a living reflection of that truth. The injury, like fate itself, was beyond control, but the response to it was a choice. Every repetition of physical therapy became an act of defiance, a quiet declaration that the will remains unbroken even when the body falters. Each painful step whispered, "I endure, therefore I am." Month after month passed. Progress was invisible to most, but monumental to the one living it. There were relapses, moments of despair, nights spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if all this effort was in vain. Yet the Stoic principle of amor fati, love of fate, kept the flame alive. They began to see the injury not as a curse, but as a gift, a chance to rebuild stronger, both inside and out. What had once been seen as the end became the beginning of a different kind of greatness, one measured not in medals, but in mastery over self. And then finally came the return. The day they stepped back onto the field, the court, the track, the world watched with disbelief. Every movement told a story of countless hours unseen. When the whistle blew and they performed once more, it wasn't just athletic skill on display, it was the embodiment of perseverance, discipline, and faith in one's own resilience. The crowd rose not merely for the victory, but for the struggle that preceded it. That standing ovation was not for the points scored or the finish line crossed, it was for the scars that spoke of survival, for the spirit that refused to surrender. That moment, that respect, is born not from success, but from the scars it took to reach it. True admiration is not for those who never fall, but for those who rise every time they do. The comeback of a champion is not about reclaiming former glory, It's about redefining it. It reminds us that what breaks us can also rebuild us, that strength is not the absence of pain, but the courage to move through it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle becomes the path. And the champion, having walked that path, carries a quiet wisdom the untested will never know." 5. Turn challenge into fuel. Here's your test. Today, face one challenge you've been avoiding. It doesn't have to be grand or heroic. It could be the workout you keep postponing, the difficult call you've been dreading, the project gathering dust at the edge of your ambition. Whatever it is, it's there for a reason. That knot in your stomach when you think about it, that's not fear, that's direction. That's your soul pointing toward growth. The Stoics believed that avoidance is the first sign of weakness, not because fear is shameful, but because it signals where the work must be done. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Every time you sidestep a challenge, you rob yourself of that strength. Every time you confront it, you forge something eternal within you. The goal is not to seek pain, but to stop running from it. Life is full of moments that test our resolve. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary lies in whether we meet those tests head-on or shrink from them. So pick your challenge and walk toward it deliberately. Don't wait for motivation. It will not come. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the quiet decision to act despite it. When you feel that hesitation, that inner resistance that says not now, realize that this is the very moment you must act. Push through it, not for applause, not for validation, but to prove something to yourself, that your will is stronger than your comfort, that you can command yourself, and that your mind is not a servant of your feelings. Each small victory matters. The workout completed when you least felt like it builds more than muscle. It builds integrity. The hard conversation you initiate despite discomfort strengthens your honesty. The project you finally begin teaches you that perfection was never the goal, progress was. Every act of discipline is a declaration of respect for yourself. And in time, that respect becomes unshakable. You no longer need the world's approval because you know you can trust yourself to act, to endure, to grow. The Stoic path is not about avoiding hardship. It's about transforming it into fuel. When you encounter an obstacle, see it as an invitation. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's humility. Maybe it's the reminder that you are stronger than you once believed. In facing difficulty, you learn that suffering can be shaped into strength, that every setback hides a seed of wisdom waiting to be found. As Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." The task is not to wish the challenge away, but to use it as material for growth. Respect yourself first, and the world will follow. True respect is not demanded. It's earned silently through the choices you make when no one is watching. When you do what's hard, you don't just build achievements, you build character. And character is the foundation upon which every lasting success is built. You will come to realize that every challenge was a mirror, showing you who you were and who you could become. And when you face the next obstacle, you'll no longer fear it, you'll welcome it, because now you know it's not here to stop you, it's here to strengthen you. Resilience is the silent language of greatness. Every moment you rise again, you write another line in your story of strength. So remember, adversity doesn't define you. Your response does. Stay strong, stay stoic, and I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe now and keep walking the path of self-mastery.